Today I sit down with someone who negotiates in hostage situations, helps leaders around the world achieve their business goals, and brokers deals with government officials. Enjoy this episode with Miltos Goudamanis, CEO of Global Strategies Council, in the business of global advising. My name is George Stroumboulis, and I'm extremely passionate about traveling the world, meeting new people, and learning about new businesses. Join me as I sit down with other entrepreneurs to learn about their journeys. This episode of Invigorate Your Business starts now. Very excited to sit down with you. Since like the first day I've met you, I've just been blown away with just your background. How modest you are, but how much you have done while you've been here. And you're the CEO and founder of Global Strategies, which is a global advisory council. You sit down with executives, CEOs, industry leaders, C-level people, and you just make a lot of amazing things happen. So can you just give us a little background on what you do?
Perfect. Thank you, George, first of all. I'm very happy that we have this initial discussion, I would say. Definitely, my name is Miltos Goudamanis, Global Strategies Council, a company that we actually started as a concept, and then it became more serious, I would say. We started back in 2010, but officially 2012, I would say. And we registered as a Texas corporation, and then we did more like a California-based, and then we expanded. It's a company that maybe in US they call it lobbyist firm, but we are more like a senior advising firm.
Okay.
In other countries they call it investment advisors. In other countries they call it business development.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be all of the above pending the cases that we take on.
Okay. Do you get offended or bothered with the term lobbyist?
I guess I would say yes, because I was born and raised in Greece, moved to the US 30 years ago. But again, I'm still traveling a lot. And I'm saying that because lobbyist outside of US is not allowed. It's a terminology that we use here in US,
Right.
Whereas everybody else, they don't use it because it's illegal.
It's illegal, right?
So, but definitely lobbyist is a good, I would say, word for the US.
Okay, that's a great way of putting it. So so someone reading this today or listening to this today from the US and they want to be in the lobbyist game or the senior advisor game, you don't just wake up one day and say, I want to be a senior advisor and bring governments together, bring executives together. How do you go at the age that you are today, being in a position to literally sit down with government officials and introduce different business concepts? How do you go from that? Was that always something you wanted to do when you were young, to be in the senior advisor game? Like, how does one get into this space?
It started, I would say, you go to the universities. I went to university here, a college actually in San Diego. Graduated, did my master. But through all these times, I was getting involved with different projects. I remember even leaving time from the university to fly and meet some people, getting exposed out there. And that is why the one thing brings the other thing. The one meeting will bring two other, if not five other meetings. To become a senior advisor, it requires a lot of traveling and a lot of sacrifices. So you have to have it inside you in order to do that. A senior advisor is not going to just wake up and say, I want to be a senior advisor. You're going to get exposed out there, and the crowd will pick you because you have a lot of choices, I would say. And especially nowadays with the social media, everybody knows who you are, what you do. Sure. So I guess it was not a choice, I would say. It was maybe the beginning, a little bit of a choice, but then you become an expert and they come after you.
And do you feel where you're at today, do you keep getting stronger and better? Meaning 5 years ago, your power, your connections just keeps getting stronger as you grow?
Yes, our goal is like we really trust and we believe and build teams.
Okay.
As long as you do that model, I would say you'll be successful and you'll go further. You need to let it go on everything. You need to let it go of not being one person to be a team person. Same thing with the business. If you see one business is better than the other one, you need to let it go and really do the business that you really think you can do. Same thing goes with the advising. When we really take on different companies and advising them for expansions in different places, we see what is better to take on and let it go what they had before. So it's a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
Yeah. So let me ask you, in your position, advice, right? We want to give the listeners advice. What are some things when you sit down and you see some novice or younger or inexperienced advisors in the room? What are some things that you see and you're like, you could see right through it? Things that you shouldn't do when you're on this scale, because you have to tread lightly and delicate, right? With all these groups, are there any things that stick out that you should avoid? Like people being too eager or trying to.
Yes, number one, I know it, I don't want to sound materialistic. I will see what they wear.
Okay.
Not the quality or if it's a specific brand, or it's how they put themselves and how they got dressed that morning that they walk into the meeting. This is for me number one, because you see, if you are like presentable, this is how you're going to do your business. And of course, it's not going to be from the first time, because if you're going to work with somebody, you're going to see him again and again and again, or her, and you will know if they are stable of how they get dressed or what they do. So that's my number one. Number
Okay.
one, I'm going to check how are they dressed. And again, I'm not looking for brands. The way they
The
put
overall
themselves
package.
together. Exactly.
Right.
Number two, definitely I want to see who is really jumping in the questions or who is really keeping quiet and sitting back.
Is one favorable over the other? Like when you're faced with that?
It depends on the subjects, I would say.
Okay.
Sometimes if you're like too quiet, which I've seen in my case, it's not a good thing.
Okay.
It's good to do the mistake. As we know, you do mistakes, you learn. You make mistakes, you learn again and again. Definitely, participation is an important thing, but also participation and sharing. I want to see how they will react when we're sitting with the crowd. Do they accept what George is going to say?
Okay.
What Miltos will say? So those three elements will make, if it's good, presentable, acceptable, and a team player, this is what really matters to me when I sit with somebody.
Those are the first
Yes,
three things,
yes.
which is great feedback to know, and
You're doing great, by the way.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. And look, I'm feeding off you, like even knowing that, like this is really good. So the one thing, it's obviously public information, but we want to talk about, like, what are some things in your life professionally that was just, wow, I'm amazing at what I do, right? Like this happened and I know I get paid a fee and I deserve it because I'm damn good. And then what was something that happened in your career where you're like, shit, like I really, fuck this up, or I really need to improve? Like, can you give us an example of each? Because I want to talk about a notable achievement as well.
Yes, I will try to be, probably comfortable of what I'm going to say. Couple of cases, I would say. One was setting up in Brazil a hall. We've been requested from a specific government or governor at a territory there to do a whole LNG infrastructure, the whole plan, regasification plants. It was very important for the country to set it up. So for me, I think was a good element because we had to play, especially in certain countries, between the federal and the state, which is complicated. And although maybe you have a state energy company that does not so much open to the federal, the public companies, so we had to be in the middle of it. And at the end, everything worked out perfect. So I think it's a good achievement.
And where were you age wise in relation? Like, does age play a big factor?
Yeah, it does, I would say. Well, yes and no, but I think we learn from the mistakes the first 15 years,
Right.
and then you kindly have a little bit of experience. So at that time it was probably like I would say 12, 14 years ago.
12 4. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. And then just talking about the good stuff, like, was there something even personally in your life where you just realized like you learned something from that was applied to work?
I think every day we learn. I get on a plane and I see how the guy next to me is. This is a learning lesson for me. I arrive, there is a crisis, there is a bad weather. I learn what I'm gonna do in that crisis now.
Right.
Where is a whole plane trying to catch another flight or anything like that. So I there like every day is a learning. It's not
Sure. So I've had the benefit to start doing business with you, and I've been on Zoom calls. I've been in physical meetings with you in Athens and everything. And you have a way of just being able to sit in a room of different backgrounds, right? Lighting, manufacturing, shipping, finance, government officials, and what you're able to do and how you navigate. It's very inspiring and cool because you read the room and then you're quickly able to speak to everyone. It's incredible just being able to do that. So just some feedback. I've always found that impressive. No, so one of the main things originally you had talked briefly about it. I'm like, is this guy for real? And then you start doing some research, and it's very impressive. Can you talk to us about the QATARI situation, high level? Because I know a lot of the stuff that you do is very, but Miltos was selected to represent a hostage situation with a royal family. How does that even happen? Like, how do they even find you? Because you're negotiating for someone's life, for some loved one. How do you even get yourself in a position? It blows my mind to be even in that position and selected and be effective.
With that specific case, actually, with other cases, but that case we got like people to hear about us, write about us, because we're under FARA, Foreign Agent Registration Act, so everything had to be according to the Department of Justice of US. We wouldn't do anything that will break any laws, obviously. But how we started, it's all about trusting and loyalty, and maintaining that name for a long time, if not forever. A client, I mean, any case, if it go to a lawyer or go to a senior advising firm, it's how you're going to see your client and read the actual need.
Okay.
Because the people are like distressed, they're completely, I would say, lost, and they're desperate. We have to read, and that's what we do. We read to move away from that desperation and provide what is better for them. The specific case was actually, we got introduced because of our past experiences. We got very close to specific members of the royal family. There were a lot of meetings among the members of the royal family, and they picked us. Obviously we had a whole team of people.
Sorry, what was that timeline? Like, you just listed a bunch of steps. How fast is that happening in the situation?
Yes, we're like actually discussing about the project, if I want to call it, or the case for probably 6 to 8 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we're like learning more information, and not only that, we're coming closer to the family as well to really understand and also to evaluate if they really need our service.
Right.
Because it's not just to meet a new case and jump on the case. We're not doing that.
Yep. It's your name associated with it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. We're doing a lot of, if I want to say, research and taking the time a little bit till we decide, okay, this is a case we want to take on.
Okay.
Um, Definitely, a lot of people think about, okay, it's a good case. It's going to generate a lot of like profits and income for our company and for our people and on and on. But we always take a step back. We study the case before we take it.
Right.
That I would say past the 6 or 7 months of discussion. Of course, there was a change in the administration as well in the US, which we always are very careful because we always work with a specific case like this, obviously with the Department of Justice. And at that stage, we had to wait a little bit longer to see how the transition will be officially after January. And at the same time, we're leaving time to the family to see what will happen with that case, what will happen with the people that were kidnapped.
Right, right.
We didn't want to take a case if we're like in the middle of so many other problems the case has.
Sure, sure.
So at that time it was more clear. The family wanted to really engage with us, and that's how we got the contract.
Yeah, it's impressive, and we're going to put up links on this as well with your background and your company and everything. So, advice: you travel a lot, right? I love traveling. I travel a lot. Obviously, COVID slowed that down. Any tips or advice, like when you travel to a new city, from the minute you leave your house to go there, from the flights, from the hotels, do you have a procedure, that you usually follow with
I do.
booking and all this stuff?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I know it's going to sound a little bit weird for the listeners. I usually pack 2 days before.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that I have everything packed. Might make some minor, tiny changes on my wardrobe, but I do have everything packed 2 days
Ready
before.
to go.
Yes, because there is always a crisis. There are always last-minute phone calls, Zoom call meetings, and I want to have a peace of mind when I get on the plane. I have everything.
It's all set. Yep. Okay.
So then it's like taking a risk, and taking a risk is from the time that you really leave your house. Either it's like getting on your plane and everything else. As soon as I arrive over there, I have my agenda. I don't stay at the hotel. I'll stay at the hotel if I have to do a meeting.
Really? Okay.
But I'm outside. And of course, one thing I will do, I will definitely read the latest news on restaurants and places on the specific city, because I want to go and see what is the new place.
Gotcha.
And sometimes I get my clients or our associates of surprise because they don't know about that place.
And then you have that edge. You have that, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are you going to do now the next 2 to 3 years that Hilton is renovating? That's so fun fact, Miltos will stay there months at a time.
That's right.
That they're going to rename it to the Milton.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yes. Funny enough, actually, last when 2021 stayed 134 days just on the Hilton Athens. So that says a lot.
A third of the year. That's incredible.
Third of the year, yes. Well, I'm looking a couple other places. Don't wanna name the places for advertisement.
Maybe not. No sponsors yet, so maybe let's not share it. Next time you come on, we'll have some ready.
But I want to say I was pretty happy with the Hilton. The people were really nice all these years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Not a paid sponsor, Hilton. So
yes,
if
no,
you
not a paid, no.
what would you today, where you're at, what would you tell a 20-year-old self, like with what you've experienced now? Like, what advice would you give yourself 20 years ago to stay on this path, or maybe not? Like, is there something you would tell yourself?
Yes, never underestimate yourself. Never. Stay, keep up, and have a lot of patience.
Patience.
A lot of patience. And trust people. You have to find people and to create a team.
Yeah.
You cannot be by yourself.
Do you underestimate yourself at all, even today?
I'm trying not to. Sometimes I do.
I feel like it's human nature too.
Yes.
Second guess, or maybe I would have done this, which is also a learning moment as well, right? Like, let's not do that at the same time next time.
And although I'm trying to every day, I would say not to analyze too much, but I do. Yep. And it's the fine line where you stop analyzing and going on action.
Yes.
That's the key.
Absolutely. So early on in my career, I would try to get things to 100%. It doesn't exist, right? 100%, 100%. And that difference from 95 where you think it is to 100 could be months, and you're missing the boat. Where, at my new company launched 6 years ago, I'm the 80-20. Let me get it to 80%, 90%, launch it. Let the market tell you what's good, what's bad. And it's, we've messed up a lot, getting things too early, but the good has far outweighed that. And even to this day, even with my team, like, let's get it to 90, launch it. They'll give us the feedback, we'll adjust, and we'll go. And by the time we actually get to production with a product, it has to be 100%. But from then till actual purchase orders, I found it very beneficial for us. Now, we're not a doctor. You can't just do 90% of a surgery, right? So it varies. But that's been, big in my...
But in business, I mean, it's up to the person how much you're going to take a risk. Myself sometimes, and I know our accountants all the time are after me, because sometimes we say, you know what, this is a 51%. We have an extra vote, so we have to take off. We have to do the project.
Right.
No matter that it's not 60 or 70%. So I would say in young age, let them take the risk.
Let them take it. Exactly.
Let them take the risk.
Because you don't realize it when you're 20. You think, it's the greatest thing to do.
Exactly.
Right? And hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, you still have time to regroup and do it. Sorry.
And keep the respect at all times. Your associates, your family, your friends. This is what will label you in the years to come who you are.
Absolutely. And I've learned that, Milto, early on, when you're looking at purchase orders or deals, early on, you think, I'm going to get rich off one deal, or I'm just going to go all in early on. And the older you get, you start realizing the value of partnerships and teamwork and being together. It's the long game, right? Well, right now it's like, yeah, you know what? You're willing to go a little less on this deal if there's a chain reaction down the road. So it's always good to see that. But you got to get burned, yes. And hopefully you realize that. But then there's people who are later in their career and they're still trying to get rich off every order, every interaction. And that's the other thing you must see. On a lot of people are just selfish in, I'm going to meet this person because it'll benefit me from day one. How do you deal with people like that? Like when you blatantly see people say, all right, I'm going to try to get friends with him because he's going to get me with this deputy, whoever. It's got to be...
It depends on the person. I mean, myself, maybe we put, if I want to say, an expiration date for these specific people.
Yep.
But we are very upfront, or I'm very upfront. If it's somebody that is going to take me to a certain level or person, we're very clear this is how we're going to work together.
Right.
And we maintain that. This is what we kept our legacy, if I want to say, all these years. We respect and we let everybody happy, and they know from the beginning what it is for them.
Right.
And this is how is the team. Somebody that will take us to a specific meeting, they know that it's not the owner of the meeting or the company. Yeah. So as long as you really clear up front and tell them this is your role in a way, and they accept it, then we proceed. If not, we don't even proceed.
You don't proceed?
No.
Because the more you go down this path, that's your reputation, right? 1 degree of separation could ruin a lot.
And we stop a lot of projects because there is no time anymore.
Right.
There is no time because even if they tell you, I want to discuss one new project, if we're like completely full, we don't want to discuss anything.
Having him sit with us today is a big deal because he didn't have time. So that's what he's trying to say in a nice way.
Very good, George.
But winding it down, and we appreciate your time. How was 2020 for you? And then what's the future look like for Global Strategies Council? Like as you go in.
2020 actually was a very good year, I would say, but close with actually losing my dad. So it was a kind of like a really bad year at the end, I would say. But I am reborn.
Right.
Cherish my dad's memory all the time, and with my mom, of course. And I would say 2021, it was a completely new start in many levels, in different projects, in different countries.
Right.
And 2022, it's really taken off.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, and we've talked, the legacy, like the one thing, just talking about your father passing, he got to see you in your prime,
Yes.
your success,
Yes.
right? Like that's our dream, as especially as sons to their dads. It's like, I want them to see, because that's our pride, that's their pride. It's like that's a blessing. And then the future blows my mind. You're operating in dozens of countries,
Yes.
right? Just keep rocking, man.
Well, thank you. Well, actively we're like in 4 countries, but of course,
Yeah,
in many more. Yes.
amazing. Milto, we're going to put all the links up on there. Definitely appreciate you sitting down with us and
Thank
just
you, George.
giving us some feedback.
Thank you.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Invigorate Your Business with George Stroumboulis. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons and follow me on all the main podcast streaming channels. Also, please share your comments when you can. I appreciate your help in expanding this network to a worldwide audience. Until next time, stay invigorated.